listen, that'll be the time to do it. That's going to be one of the things. All right, who exactly is out? And I think you instantly listen for the offensive line. And anybody in particular. If Dylan Stewart is out, I actually chalk that up. That's a good thing.
Okay.
I'll say it's a good thing for Dylan Stewart. Stand next to Deion Barnes, talk to him, get to know his personality, how he coaches. But I'll be honest, Dylan Stewart's going into the final year of his career at the University of South Carolina. He is going to be a first-round pick, barring something crazy next year. There's no need for him to get hurt this spring. The number one goal of this spring, that's actually a legit question, is the number one goal to not get injured or to have the offense completely installed? I'll go not get injured.
Yeah.
Don't lose. You've already lost now.
Don't lose anybody else.
We are told we should not worry about the peak situation, that he'll be back roughly Mississippi State, maybe Alabama. But, yeah, you don't want to lose. You don't need another significant injury. Wrap these boys in bubble tape this spring and let them go. It's football. Injuries happen, and that's my point. Like,
yeah,
they get. No, your odds of getting injured, stepping off the curve, and getting hit by a car are extremely lower than getting hurt on the football field.
And we have a heightened sense for this now because of the Jacarius Peak injury. Again, we're all very aware that, any time you're practicing putting on pads and a helmet, you can get hurt. Certainly get hurt doing quite literally anything. But again, when the profile of your most prized transfer portal goes down before the spring practice even starts, you're kind of on pins and needles for anybody else, certainly on the offensive line, because we saw a couple years ago, it was Javon Gwynn, right, that went down in spring practice that year.
Might have been.
Yeah, and that just kind of started the domino for what ended up being a really bad year injury-wise for that O-line. So this is a fan base that's still, got the PTSD from a couple years ago, where you hope that same thing's not happening again. So, yes, regardless of how much gets installed, if you can get through spring practice without any major injuries, you'll consider that a win.
Yeah, that certainly would be number one. But also listening today, and any players in particular, any offensive linemen that are injured. We'll see if we get – I am interested. Obviously, you and I are here at studio. We won't be there to ask any questions. I'm kind of past those days anyway, so I do not consider myself a media member or one of the asking question guys or girls. But with that being said, Tyler, I am maybe interested to hear a little update on Josiah Thompson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how – and let's be clear about this. And this is one thing that's great about Shane Beamer, and it's also bad. Shane Beamer is going to be ultra positive.
Of course.
He's going to defend his players. He's going to talk them up. He's going to build them up in the media. But I am interested to hear, after everything with Josiah Thompson, the 5-star recruit, the very solid freshman season to the incredibly bad sophomore season to entering the transfer portal to coming back to what appeared to have been losing your starting position at left tackle to now going to all that stuff. How is Josiah Thompson now? Because I look at him, and you can tell me if you disagree or agree, as a key piece of this offensive line.
Yeah, and if we're talking in reference to what Beamer's going to be able to say today, I mean, what answer would satisfy you in terms of like
an answer? The answer is an answer.
Some kind of answer.
Because I'm well aware that Shane Beamer is going to be ultra positive about the situation. How's he doing? He's doing great. He's in a great place mentally. He's working harder than ever. I can hit the bingo card, in 5 sentences. So I wouldn't expect him to be like, I don't know. He's got a long way to go.
Yeah. Well, and he's one of those guys that, again, everything's going to skew positive for the next month roughly, that, we could have the reports over the course of spring practice that this is the best he's looked since he's been on campus. He looks like, the best offensive lineman on this team, maybe the best offensive lineman in the country. I think most people are going to go, okay, well, let me see the results in the fall, right? Because we've seen enough of the bad of Josiah Thompson to where even positives through spring practice, I don't think are going to skew people in any direction until they see the results coming up on the field. And we still don't know what role he's going to play, right? Now, it is significant that Jacarius Peak went down with an injury, and Josiah Thompson, who was your left tackle, could seemingly fill that role in the meantime. But we assume when Peak comes back, that is his spot. And then what do you do with Thompson? Is he good enough to play right tackle? What's that transition to that spot going to be like? How does that competition go? There's no guarantees for him, but you're right. Because of how high profile of a player he was coming out of high school, considering the fact that he was not the only reason why they struggled on the offensive line, but he was kind of the poster child for it, right? Because of what his freshman year had been, playing the left tackle spot. He's got so many eyes on him this spring and this offseason saying, hey, can you be better? Was it a Lonnie Teasley thing, or is this guy just not good enough? And I think we're all anxious to find out.
And that'll go along with the production, or does Shed Surratt improve? How is the center position playing out? Things of that nature. And today will be our first opportunity. We'll talk more about that. Now we are coming at you for about an hour. So an abbreviated program for the first hour. Shane Beamer at 1 o'clock. And I got a feeling this will be a pretty question-oriented press conference. So I'm anticipating about 35. I am anticipating. We'll see. I'll set the over-under at 37 and a half minutes for today.
Okay, in terms of like when he starts speaking to the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of questions. Obviously, coming off a 4-8, extremely disappointing season. We all know the importance of this season. We know the schedule and what it looks like. You're going to have Lenore Sellers for the last year. You're going to have Nick Harbor for the last year. You're going to have Dylan Stewart for the last year. Who knows if Clayton White has another great performance, another very solid performance as defensive coordinator. He might be here for. You're just the prospects of a lot of change occurring again in December are on the table.
It's funny. I think Clayton White is the least talked about coach on the staff in the past 3 to 4 months since the season ended, because, despite how bad last year was, when we said a lot through the season, like the defense gave you a chance, right? And there were, in all those games you were in the fourth quarter was largely due to your defense holding on for dear life against, good opponents, and the offense obviously not being able to pick up the slack. So, yeah, we haven't really talked a whole lot about Clayton White because we just assume, the defense is probably going to be decent to pretty good, right?
Yeah.
All things considered.
He'll get him going. I think he's got 8 quarters to mess around and play with some things, and you feel like you give that guy 8 quarters, he'll be able to get things up and rolling at a pretty good pace and have the defense at least. I'm not saying he's going to have them top 10, top 20, but they will at least be respectable and give you a chance. You don't feel like you're having to win games 45, 42, 38, 35, so forth and so on. But one other thing to it, we don't know what the behind-the-scenes discussions with Kendall Browse is. You also say this. If this goes according to plan, right, this is what you're hoping, and Kendall Browse is the answer. He was already a little bit of a commodity as a head coaching prospect previously.
Sure.
He comes in here, and Lenore Sellers is being talked about as a Heisman candidate, and you're winning 9 games, and you're doing all the things that a bunch of you are saying. We've got to do this. This is a disappointment. 7 or 8 wins is a disappointment. You got to win 9. You got to be in the play. Again, you do all the things that y'all were talking about. The odds are you're losing those 3 players I talked about, and the odds are you're losing your offensive defensive coordinator. That's where we are with this year. It is such a wild year.
It is, but if you can promise me that they're going to be in that same realm that they were 2 years ago, then we'll figure all that stuff out later. We'll find a new OC, find a new DC, figure out who's going to be replacing all these star players. If you tell me they're in the mix of the playoff again, I don't care what's happened past 2026. We'll figure that out later. I'll take that.
That's all way down the road, and that's all a very positive, quite honest spin on the situation. That is positivity shining through on your Monday. We'll also get into a little bit of basketball. Matt Norlander, one of the best in the business, has put out an article on hot seats, and Lamont Paris is on there, but his wording, it'll kind of tell you what he thinks. Harold McGranahan, also with the Big Spur, has put out an article detailing some of the numbers on Lamont Paris. And tonight, I don't know, is it Lamont Paris's last game at Colonial Life Arena? We know for 4 particular players it will be.
That's 6.
Michi, Kapich, Kobe Knox,
Studi, Sparkman.
Yeah, no offense to Sparkman.
Throw him in there. And Mongolian Mike.
Oh, I always forget about him. Yeah, because he is actually, I think, the one guy who has played this is his 4th year. Yeah. Like, I don't think there's a 5th or 6th.
Right, well, he's been at 4 different schools, too.
So to me, I'm like, you only played 4 years. What do you mean you're leaving? No, it doesn't work that way anymore.
In today's world, he might have another year of eligibility that we're not aware of. But those 6 are being honored. They're walking for senior night.
Right.
They get their flowers and all that kind of stuff. And again, if somebody can come back okay, we'll see.
Yeah, Michi's on I think Kapich might be actually on year 4 too. But
Because he played JUCO ball
so he
for 2 years before he went to UC San Diego.
He literally could, based on what they've gone after. He could go after some more years. But Kapich, again, Michi I think is on 5. Is that right? He had
yes. Well, it depends on how they look at last year at Ohio State.
Was that what that?
Because he only played, I think, 10 games because he had the off the court stuff.
Did he redshirt his first year at Ohio State?
No. Oh, well,
I thought he played.
He played some.
I thought he played 1. Came here for 2.
Came here for 2. Went back for 1, but didn't play the whole season.
3.
And then came
he
back
got
here.
it. He got it. So he played. Maybe that was 2 years at 2 years at Ohio. I'll
yeah,
go
he
back
played
and
2
look.
non-consecutive years at Ohio State.
Okay, I'll look.
So
for some
5
reason,
total years of basketball, but I don't know how they look at his second stint at Ohio State because he didn't play the whole season. That I don't know if that qualifies for redshirt or whatever.
2 years here. Yeah, 2 years here.
Yes.
Lamont's first year, and then so that. Okay.
He's been here for 3 of the 4 Paris years.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, but he's on 5. Studi's on year 14. Kapich, I believe, is actually 4. Well, actually, I think he's more in terms, like you said, but and then Mongolia Mike is actually legitimately 4.
Yes. Well, he just toured the whole country.
He did what y'all,
Dayton, San Francisco, South Carolina, Utah.
Yeah,
saw it all.
That's the way he had the Eric Stevenson plan in full effect. 803-404-6100. We'll talk about those guys in particular Michi Johnson. He put out a post yesterday on Twitter I saw and tugged at my heartstrings a little bit, talking about senior night. We'll talk about that. And again, we'll talk about Lamont Paris as well. See what we can get to in this hour. J.C. Sherbert will join us coming up in the 2 o'clock hour as well. So a lot to get to, a lot to do. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain Dave Adair holding down the fort behind the glass. It is the halftime show. 12:19 on your Tuesday. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain Dave Adair. Captain Dave, you getting some Darius Rucker tickets that are coming out now? Are you making some purchases, or is that not up on the Dave ladder of music?
Well, I spent all my money on Larkin Poe.
That was going to be my next question. That was when is the Larkin Poe concert?
The 24th.
Okay, of March or April?
March.
Okay, all right, totally understand. And yeah, you got to do what you got to do, buddy. That is that the number one Dave band right now?
Number one.
Number
no doubt.
one. All right. Yeah, no, that's all right, buddy. That's a good job. Good job. All right. Well, Darius Rucker, the tickets are out now. You can go and purchase those and do that. 803-404-6100. That will conclude spring practice on April 11th. And we'll talk more about that later on. But right now, getting back to some basketball. Last night, Matt Norlander, I saw it last night. Matt Norlander put out an article. I found this interesting on a lot of different fronts. One, from the standpoint of Norlander not just addressing South Carolina, but addressing college basketball and potential changes as a whole. He actually put this out yesterday, 21 hours ago. And he discusses some different jobs that very well could be coming open. Arizona State with Bobby Hurley, Boston College with South Carolina native Earl Grant, Butler potentially with Thad Matta. He puts Cincinnati in here, although their buyout, as he puts it, is well north of $9 million if indeed Wes Miller is fired at Cincinnati. He says the noise surrounding Damian Stoudemire at Georgia Tech has risen a lot the past month as the Yellow Jackets have dropped to 18th in the 18-team ACC. So, yeah, they're in the basement of that. And so he points Georgia Tech could very well open up. The one that kind of caught my eye was Syracuse, which would be obviously a very nice job to have, a lot of tradition there. And no longer are you following the legend of Jim Boeheim in that situation. I think that would open the door for a pretty good coach. Providence, which is a phenomenal job. Ed Cooley made that. It's always been a really good job. Rick Pitino and Rick Barnes back in the day doing big things there. And Providence has always been a solid job. Ed Cooley was really hot with it there for a little while. It has not worked out for Kim English there. So just looking at it. Now, he gets to bad this year, but unlikely to change. And he goes through a couple. He names off Colorado, Georgetown, Oregon, Rutgers. And then he gets to Lamont Paris. And he says Lamont Paris has a significant buyout. And despite some behind-the-scenes snooping on potential candidates, I don't think this one is coming open. The Gamecocks, 12-17, will have back-to-back sub-500 seasons in addition to just 11 wins in Paris' first year. Not unthinkable, but something drastic would need to force action here. Let's just base it on the simple comments that Matt Norlander, a very good CBS Sports insider for college basketball, speaks. You hear those words. Anything you disagree with, you agree with. What is your initial take?
I think it backs up a lot of the conversations you and I have been having here as of late that, yeah, the record in 3 out of 4 years has been really bad, but it doesn't seem like Paris being fired is the leader in the clubhouse right now in terms of what's going to happen. And he mentioned something drastic here in the last couple of games. Tennessee tonight, Ole Miss on Saturday, and then the 9 seed if you're still 16th in the SEC tournament next week, where your season will likely come to an end. Even if all 3 of those games are blowout losses, do you consider that drastic enough to really change the thoughts of how we look at this season? Probably not. And again, you got a chance to beat Ole Miss on Saturday. They're a bad team. Yeah, you could get bludgeoned tonight against Tennessee. We'll see. They are down their leading scorer, for that one. But yeah, I don't really see anything crazy happening in the next 8 days that's going to drastically alter the way we look at this season. And again, we mentioned the buyout there, which again can be broken up. But when you talk about having to buy out Paris, having to buy out the staff, in addition to hiring a coach and scrounging up the resources through NIL and revenue share to put that coach in a better position, I just don't know if South Carolina's in a spot where they can do that as of right now, which leans towards me taking the guess that he's probably coming back.
We don't know. I mean, I'm not picking on you. What I am saying is we don't know if they're in a spot or not. We are operating under the assumption that South Carolina is a penniless, shoeless organization over there that that doesn't have the funds. Now, remember, one other thing that you didn't mention that should be projected, and I don't know the exact appropriation of funds. South Carolina is also involved in a $350 million stadium renovation.
That is true.
That is taking some money away. So there is an element to what you're saying that is interesting.
I say this because, and again, the numbers can be a little bit fuzzy, but what we know of the past couple of years, they've been well below the average in the SEC in terms of what they spend on their roster. So to me, I make the connection of, okay, you don't have as many resources available to you in men's basketball as some of these other teams. That's not the only reason why you may be able to fall behind, but it's certainly not helping.
Well, here's the thing to that. That's not a new thing. South Carolina, for now decades, has decided not to invest in men's basketball. When opportunities have arose to make an investment, to take advantage of situations, they have simply not done it. This isn't they're not doing it now. They haven't done it for a while. The numbers I've heard is that if you want to get this program online, and now, whether it's Lamont Paris or not, doesn't matter. There needs to be about a $10 million at minimum investment, and that's into NIL, that's into, and it doesn't have to be right away, but Colonial Life Arena, and there needs to be some upgrades to that facility. That is into helping your administration be a little bit more streamlined, maybe even upping the staff a little bit, upping the assistant coaching salaries. Lamont Paris has paid $4 million. South Carolina, for once, paid a head coach. And now you guys are complaining about it, but for once, they actually did the right thing. And the buyout is not ridiculously bad, given that I'll give Ray Tanner credit for how he negotiated the buyout, because nobody, I think, is really looking at it. 65% of what's remaining, so you're not paying the full amount of what is owed over the next 4 years. You're not paying the full amount, and it is actually split into basically 4 years. So instead of $12 million, roughly, you're paying $12 million instantly. You're paying $3 million over 4 years. That's not great, mind you, but also not $12 million up front at one time. And generally speaking, Tyler, in these situations, there can be a negotiation to maybe change that around, pay less money total, maybe more in 1 or 2 years to get this resolved.
That's still a significant amount of money. It's nothing to sneeze at by any means. We're talking about $3 million here, but you're right. There are ways to kind of negotiate around that and move things around a little bit if you got yourself in that situation. And, kind of throw out that $10 million number. We think that's what you need to be competitive in the SEC, but this is an ongoing arms race where that next year may still be towards the bottom of the conference.
I'll take 10 minutes. That comes from coaches that I've taught in the profession.
But that's as of right now. That can change year to year because it continues to go up every single year.
I'm not talking about just NIL.
Yeah.
Throw in money. This is $10 million. South Carolina's got to put $10 million. I know what you're trying to say, but no, yeah. I'm going to go with the coaches that I've talked to there's a coach in the ACC that is a head coach that I know very well that got blown out last night. Destroyed. I'll let you figure out who that is.
But two and two together on that one.
Bad night for him. But anyway, there's other coaches that I talked to. They say the general perception is South Carolina has $10 million, and you're right. That's the starting number. But at least that brings you, in terms of, again, assistant salary pool, throw in some money in it. It's not all one lump to one area.
It'd be a step in the right direction.
But the question is whether, and again, the point that was made, it's not like, well, you bring in a new coach and you give him $10 million, or you keep Lamont Paris and you don't get whoever the coach is in 2026, 2027. You need to invest in your basketball program.
Yes,
no doubt. You've got to, and figure out how to do it. 803-404-6100. I'll get to this Hale McGranahan article that was written also, because that'll be the next part as it pertains to tonight and the actual hardline numbers for Lamont Paris stacking up against Steve Newton, Eddie Fogler, Dave Odom, Darren Horn, and Frank Martin over the years, even going all the way back to George Felton and Bill Foster. We'll talk about that as we move forward. You're listening to The Halftime Show. Couple people on the text line going back to the football discussion. Brad says, I'm fine with, excuse me, let me go back to that text message for a first. Now I'll go to the next one. I'm fine with a few of those guys not scrimmaging, talking about football, but this team needs to get a lot better, and waiting until the fall to go hard is not good enough. Yeah, let's talk. We'll circle back to that a little bit.
It depends on the extent of the injury and what guy we're talking about. I mean, if you told me that, Dylan Stewart was dealing with something and he didn't practice in the spring, I'd feel fine about that. I got a pretty good idea of what he is. I don't know how much he needs the spring as much as some others guys. Maybe it just depends on the person, it depends on the extent of the injury and all that. But I don't mind erring on the side of caution this time of year.
I would say this as it pertains to wrap up your starters. Dylan Thompson, maybe some of the defense on Gabriel Brownlow, Dindy, and make them go through all the drills and work on the techniques and fundamentals. I would definitely play a lot of the transfer portal guys that need to play and learn some things. And obviously your younger crowd, Jazavion Currents, another guy I'd like to hear about today, because I instantly look at him, one of the top recruits in the class. And Darius Gray is not here yet. He won't be here to the summer, and then he'll start trying to compete for one of those jobs. But at the end of the day, what you're kind of looking for here is, in my opinion, is getting like a guy like Jazavion Currents ready to see, can he step in? He's supposed to be a freak of an athlete, comes from a high-profile program at South Point, things of that nature. You have him play a lot this coming spring to build him up.
And I think, for continuity on defense, you have the ability to do that because it's the same scheme, same defensive coordinator. Got a few different guys as far as the staff goes, compared to a year ago. Whereas offense, it is a lot about implementing your offense this offseason, getting everybody up to speed, how they fit and all that kind of stuff. So you may not have the same flexibility to do that with some of the offensive guys because it is a new system and you got to kind of figure out where they fit within that. But, yeah, I don't mind erring on the side of caution, especially for your high-profile guys in terms of making sure they're healthy for when the season comes up.
Let's see. Another Russ weighs in. Thank you, Russ, for texting us every day. He says, hey, Bill, do you think that's the end of Shane's 3-on-3 tournament? No, and I hope it's not. These kids are going to play, but we talked about this when the peak injury happened. I don't blame. This is not Shane's fault at all. And you can get mad and scream and yell about it. Kids play basketball. Sacramento's not the only one who has a 3-on-3 tournament. In talking with people, obviously it doesn't get covered, so a lot of people don't know about it. But a lot of schools do stuff like this. This is, and no, and it shouldn't be. The kids have fun doing it. And did an injury occur? It did. Freak incident, and it stinks, but no, and we'll circle back to that. So 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Helm McGranahan on thebigspur.com has put out an article, and I think this is the part of Lamont Paris that people are trying to justify bringing him back. Not just giving more money, but legitimately bringing him back. It's basically, let me read a part of this here. It says, there have been pockets of success in the more than 40-plus years since Frank McGuire retired in 1980, including the 2023-24 season when Lamont Paris led South Carolina to its first NCAA tournament appearance since the 2017 Final Four run. It does point out the 26 wins in Paris' second season tied a program record and sent the Gamecocks to their 10th NCAA tournament. The SEC Coach of the Year was awarded for success with a new contract extension before postseason play began. A day after Paris inked that extension, Carolina was bounced from the SEC tournament with a 31-point loss to Auburn, and Oregon, led by former Gamecock Jermaine Cousinard, eliminated them from the NCAA tournament 6 days later. Since the start of last season, South Carolina is 24-37 with a 5-29 record against SEC teams, and in 2022-23, Paris' first season of the Gamecocks were 11-23, 4-14. He owns the lowest winning percentage of any coach over the last 46 years at this time right now. The lowest, below Darren Horn, even I think slightly below Steve Newton when it comes to that.
I mean, again, we've seen the results. That doesn't really surprise me. It obviously makes it sound that much worse when you stack it up to those other resumes. But, yeah, that's kind of the reality that you've lived in 3 of the 4 years of the Lamont Paris era. Does that change what ultimately happens? Probably not.
By the way, I'm sorry, Steve Newton does indeed have a lower percentage.
Okay. But still, I think, where we're at with this, we kind of lean towards him being in a position to come back. But you can't dispute the numbers. They're not good.
The question is going to be simply this. And I had a coach tell me this, another coach tell me this, so this is not necessarily my opinion. and I do agree with this. It could be Tyler Head. It could be Bill Gunner. It could be Captain David Ayer. It could be Lamont Paris. It could be you out there listening, even you. Whomever is at South Carolina, you're not getting fans in the stands in November and December and likely not January. If you're winning, and this is true for Lamont Paris next year, if he's winning, fans will come in February. They will flock to that arena. They'll make it a great environment. I'm not a huge Colonial Life Arena fan. That's a whole other issue for a whole other day when we get into what South Carolina's got to do. But the truth be told, South Carolina fans will follow a winner. And if it's Lamont Paris,
Sure.
next February, 12 months from now, 13 months from now, a lot of y'all will be going, oh, yeah, oh, okay, we're on board. That's how South Carolina basketball has been. The question would be does a new coach generate excitement? And most importantly, ticket sales or any kind of revenue that can help not offset them. You're not going to do that, but help offset slightly what you're paying.
I mean, it'd have to be a splash higher, right?
Not necessarily. South Carolina fans have been known to get a little fired up about pretty much anybody. And rightfully understand. Splash, no. Splash is going out, and let's just say, I'm just going to throw a name out because I kind of like him. Mike, and he fits with you.
Yeah.
Going and somehow stealing Mike White from Georgia, who is a well-known non-basketball school, yet look at what he's doing. Now, they just signed him to a new contract with an $8 million buyout.
But somebody of that ilk
who's been at Florida, who's been at Georgia, who has an Elite Eight.
Yeah, been on some deep tournament runs and regarded as a better than average to pretty good coach type thing. Something like that. How attractive is Carolina to those kind of guys? I don't know. Again, the resources go a long way with that. But yeah, somebody of that style and nature, I think maybe could move the needle a little bit.
803-404-6100. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what a splash hire would be. I don't know what the caliber of coach you're going to get. Some of it does come down to money. Again, I'll kind of point out, you go into that job market, and Memphis is another job on Matt Norlander's list that's really interesting. And I'll be honest, aside from Zach Davis being there this year, I haven't really paid a ton of attention to what's going on at Memphis. But they are kind of out on the Penny Hardaway train. And last year, Memphis won 29 games, was a 5 seed. And Memphis is now even still like, you ain't getting this done. We need to move on to another guy.
Well, and positioning this back to South Carolina, if you are going to make a move and fire Lamont Paris, you have to be pretty darn sure you're going to be able to go out there and get somebody of value that's better, right? Because if you fire Lamont Paris and you go out there and hire whatever mid-major coach won their conference championship and maybe got bounced in the first round, you're kind of hiring the exact same coach, hoping for a different result. So you'd have to hope or know, and again, these 80s talk, they have their list and all that kind of stuff. You'd have to have a plan of action that you're going to get somebody that's significantly different than Lamont Paris if you choose to move on from him.
Well, I do find interesting. I had heard this as well, and I do find it interesting in this Norlander piece. There's a piece here. It says, Lamont Paris has a significant buyout, and despite some behind-the-scenes snooping on potential candidates. So it fits with what I had heard in terms of they were at least gauging interest and a dollar figure. Hey, and I'm just going to throw a name out there. Hey, Scott Cross at Troy, if we were to open, and again, they didn't go to Scott Cross himself. They went to an agent or a third party. What is the number that would intrigue you to be coming to our university? Oh, $4 million? Okay, we can't do that.
Yep.
Hey, again, name any coach. Well, what is the number you're looking at for our university? And then in your mind, you got to go, well, would Memphis want them? Would Kansas State want them if they open? If LSU opens? By the way, in Matt Norlander's piece, I find this interesting for all y'all talking about money. In Matt Norlander's piece, he does mention LSU, and in it he specifically states LSU may hold on to Matt McMahon, who actually has a worse numbers than Lamont Paris, because they're tied up in money spent to Brian Kelly.
Yep, buyouts. And basketball, pretty low on the pecking order there at LSU right now.
It does. It is interesting. He says if McMahon is back in Baton Rouge next year, he'll be given minimal support. So they're almost cutting his legs out from underneath him.
Saying, all right, we're just biding our time. We can't afford to fire you right now, but don't worry, bud, it's coming.
Yeah.
Unless you pull off a miracle with nothing next year.
This goes on in this little blurb. Says multiple sources said firing McMahon and hiring a new staff and bringing on NIL assurances would it mount. Now, I told you $10 million, a $10 million investment. In the Norlander article, who's a very good insider, has great context, He says multiple sources said firing McMahon and hiring new staff and bringing on NIL assurances would amount to at least a $25 million more in resources for men's basketball. Remember, I just told you 10. He's saying 25, and that's just 10 to kind of get South Carolina up to par. They're saying here, you do this for LSU, you got to get to 25, and I'm trying to be realistic. South Carolina ain't pumping $25 million into basketball next year or anytime soon.
Probably not.
803-404-6100. We wrap up the hour next. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. We're for over 30 years. Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Why have they been the leader? Customer service. You hear me talk about it all the time. You can be phenomenal at what you do, but if you don't have great customer service, if you're not there for your clients when they need you the most, people are going to go elsewhere. Mid-State Roofing understands that, and that's why they are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can give them a phone call at any point during the day and or night, and you'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. So you can have peaceful rest knowing that if you discover a leak at midnight or 1 a.m. and you wake up, now you're confused and you don't know what to do, you can call Mid-State Roofing, and they're there for you. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. If you need more information than just listening to me, well, go to their website, midstateroofing.com. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping up the first hour, coming up again in about 13 minutes, roughly, give or take a minute, depending on how he's feeling today. Old Shane Beamer will not just join us, he'll join all of the media. We're not special enough to get him in a one-on-one environment and ask him about, does he care about microwavable bacon, or does it need to be cooked in a pan? Or that should be a question for today, by the way. How do you feel about what is U2's stance? Let me bring some former morning show humor to the afternoon program for just a second.
Okay.
Where do we stand on bacon? Is it acceptable, Captain Dave and Tyler, to enjoy bacon from the microwave?
As somebody that did it in college and couldn't get the smell out of my apartment, I go with no.
Okay, good decision.
I understand, some people's situation, or you're just going to be in a rush and you can't fully commit to cooking it. But my personal experience, I go no.
Okay. Dave?
I don't eat anything
bacon.
unless it's microwaved, so.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I microwave everything. I don't cook.
So you don't cook bacon on the stove or in the oven?
No.
No?
I even, those little packages of pasta that you can stick in the microwave?
Sure.
That's my pasta.
Careful, man. That's a lot of sodium.
Dave.
I'll take sodium over inconvenience, over everything else.
Well, your doctor might disagree with you on that one, Dave. Be careful.
Dave, we got to introduce you to an air fryer. While I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not necessarily arguing with you, air fryer is the the microwave of the current time. I was going to say the future.
Listen,
we're in the future.
Air fryer will change your life, man. I'm cooking steaks in the air fryer now, and they're phenomenal.
Dave, when's your birthday?
August 15th.
Okay, we may be checking into getting you an early birthday present. You need an air fryer.
I'll take it.
Yeah, all you got to do is open a little door, put the food in, and let it go.
Put the cloth on like you would a microwave.
You don't even have to understand how it works. It's magic, Dave. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, I don't understand the clocks on the microwave. I just hit that, 1 minute
Oh,
button
dear Lord.
Sure.
for everything.
We
But
will
to your
circle
question,
back to this.
I'm anti-microwaving bacon. Plus, I like bacon very crispy. Microwave cannot accomplish that.
Crispier the better.
Yes, like I want it borderline burnt.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're all in that, except for Dave, who we just got introduced to. I think I'm on my third air fryer now. Purchased a new one about 2-3 weeks ago, and
So they don't last?
no. It run the one I just had lasted 7 or 8 years. I don't know what a microwave run 20 years. I don't.
The one we have, we're going on like 5 years, and it's still
Yeah.
going strong.
Yeah.
So it's just you got to keep it up, clean it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the air fryer I got was
Clean it.
Well, it's not strenuous, Dave. It usually, if you're going to cook like bacon, there's going to be grease in the bottom of it. You do have to clean that out.
There's little sheets that you can kind of put in there and
little
handle some of it,
protective
like little
sheets.
protective sheet. Yeah, I mean, you make it easier on
Well,
yourself.
you got to clean the microwave too at some point, Dave, or else it's going to
You
be
do?
all.
And not eating any food Dave brings.
Well, I can only imagine what your microwave looks like, Dave. Do you at least cover the food when you microwave it, or does it just splatter everywhere?
Oh, you mean those little red and brown things that are inside?
Oh dear Lord. Do y'all put food in the microwave in the center of the microwave, or do you put it on like the edge so that the food like rotates all the way around?
Well, it's supposed to be in the center because it heats evenly that way.
See, I've been
That's
told
what
it's
I
supposed to be on the edge because it rotates all the way around, and that's how it eats evenly. I had a friend tell me that. It's not a guy that I would go to for a lot of information, but just in this instance,
That one situation.
in this instance, I was like, sounds legitimate to me. It's like if you say something with enough gumption behind it, and you
Sure.
sound like you know, I'm like, all right, I don't know. What do I know?
It's
I'm
all
sure.
about being confident.
Yeah. So you're a center, Mr. Microwave over there behind the glass. Do you center of the microwave plate or on the edge so it rotates?
It's lucky if it rotates. It kind of hangs up a lot.
So your oven and like stove, just nothing.
They know they're there
The
for.
cobwebs.
Yeah. When was the last time you opened your oven?
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever opened it.
There could be $1 million in there, and you could be retired. You wouldn't know.
The top of the stove is covered with stuff, too. I don't use those things.
Oh,
either.
so it's a storage unit for you.
Yeah.
Got it.
basically.
Okay, I got you.
That's where the pans go. All right, got it. All right. Yep,
What does he
803.
need pans for? He's got a microwave.
You always end up with pans you don't need. As a single guy, I have more pans. I don't know what I've done to acquire. I know I didn't buy them, and I didn't steal them, and yet my pantry is covered in. I don't know where they've come from. I don't know if people are coming to my house for events and just leaving me. Like I look poor, and they're just leaving me. Like, oh, look at this poor kid.
I always get the pans,
leave
the
in
glasses,
pans.
and the plates from every failed relationship I have.
How many is that, Dave?
I have a lot.
We're on the verge of losing this segment. If we didn't already. Yeah, and I don't mean just like pans. I mean like the baking, like the pots. I've got like a ridiculous for a one-person show. It's a ridiculous amount of. I could use a different like pot or pan like every night. But anyway, all right. So Dave doesn't do anything other than the microwave. Tyler and I understand the delicacy of using the air fryer. If you want to weigh in on any of that at all, anything you heard in that conversation, welcome to the conversation. Please feel free. Beth says bacon on a new wave oven is great. Okay,
What's a new wave oven?
I'm going to look it up. And
All right.
we got Shane Beamer coming up in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I got about 30. I'm going over under on Shane Beamer talking today. 30 seconds. I think there's a lot to ask.
Oh, sure.
I think there's a lot to ask.
Well, and the last couple times we've heard from him, it's been introducing coaches where, he'll take a few questions, but he's not there to talk about everything. He's there to introduce said coach.
Yeah.
Again, he addressed Jakarius Peak, he addressed Devontae Miles, and then it was all Matthew Smiley after that.
Yeah, and the fact that the winter workouts are officially over, and now I don't know if I'd say you have numbers necessarily that give you hope or despair, but you've got stuff from winter workouts that you can discuss a little bit. Listening, I guess, a little bit to the early relationship of Lenore Sellers and Kendall Briles. How is that developing? Again, Shane's going to be ultra positive, but I think there is an element of what kind of work has Lenoris put in the offseason to upgrade his footwork, his throwing motion, anything of that nature that has him more prepared. Because I'll go back, and I'm not trying to pick on Lenoris. I'm not trying to be Mr. Negative. I just wonder what was the work ethic last year, because Mike Shula wasn't good. I'm not trying to absolve Mike Shula. I also don't know if Lenore Sellers put in the offseason work last year that's required to be an SEC quarterback at times.
Good question.
We'll find out. We'll hit the top of the hour. We'll come back. We may speak for a minute or two, and then Shane Beamer will be ready to address you, us, all of us, as we get set for Spring Ball 2026 with no spring game. You know how that goes. No, you don't. We'll learn now. All right, Shane Beamer is taking to the podium now. Let's turn it over to Shane Beamer over at the. Okay, Dave, go ahead and clear. He is Tyler slightly ahead of you, but let's get it going. Do you have him? Do you have him, Dave? Okay. All right. Let's turn it over to Shane Beamer.
All right. Congrats, Lulu. Clearly, y'all like this side of the room and have something against Charles and David over here. But great to be back in here again, talking about football and going out on the field and practicing. Really looking forward to starting tomorrow. Before we get into spring ball, certainly need to commend our strength and conditioning staff for everything that we've accomplished in the weight room since our players came back in January. The strides that we've made from a weight room standpoint, the strides that we've made from a nutrition standpoint with Yemi Rodriguez and our nutrition team. You look at the strength gains, you look at the speed gains, you look at lowering body fat but increasing muscle. It's really been pretty impressive what our guys have been able to do in a short period of time. So kudos to Luke Day and his team, Yemi and his team. There's no question with so many of our guys that have come in from the portal or high school recruiting that we just signed, that this version of themselves right now in March of 2026 is the best version of themselves ever. And I've had guys tell me that, guys that have been a part of college football for 3, 4, 5 years that, are saying this is the strongest, fastest, most in shape, best their body feels since they've been in college, and proud of the accomplishments that those guys have made and everything that our guys have done down in the weight room. Like I said, really like this staff. I'm eager for you guys to continue to get to know them as we go through spring ball, and those guys are coming in here periodically to visit with you. There's a lot of new faces. I mean, we're adding people this week with some roles, and last week with Coach Smiley. So it's more change than we're used to, but it's a good thing in so many ways. The way that the older coaches, the returning coaches, I should say, have blended with the new coaches. It's a really good group, like the way that we're working right now. Myself and Emily, my wife, we took the 10 assistant coaches and their wives. We went down to Charleston last weekend for a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just to have some fun and enjoy Charleston, let the husbands, wives do whatever they want to do, shop, eat. Some of us played golf, but just the time that we were able to spend together Friday night, all day Saturday night, Sunday morning before we came back was a really good time, as we were already close but got closer, and the wives got to know one another, and the coaches got to know one another even better outside this building. It's a lot of positives that came out of it. So really, resonated with me this weekend, hearing from coaches that were here last year that commented to me during our time in Charleston, how well the new coaches have come in and acclimated themselves, and how much they're enjoying working with one another. That's really cool, because whether they just got here or whether they were here last year, they all chose to be here. They all chose to stay here. We've got new coaches that have certainly come in from other places that chose to leave where they were in order to come here. But then not enough is being talked about. You talk about the players that we retained in the transfer portal that didn't go in. How about the coaches that we retained? Because every single coach on our staff, whether it be Travian Robertson or Clayton White or Torian Gray or Sean Elliott or Mike Furry or people in the support staff roles, they had opportunities to go other places, because we've got a really good coaching staff here, and those coaches chose not to pursue other opportunities at other places in order to stay here. And that excites me for a lot of reasons, but we've got a good thing going, and glad that we have this group in here that we do now, and we'll continue to grow closer and get better and better as a staff. But great to be here in March. I'm not introducing a new coach today. I'm not talking about signing day. I'm not talking about the portal. We're actually talking football, which is what I love to do. Fired up that we're now in March from a recruiting standpoint. The dead period is over, so we can actually have recruits that can come back on campus tomorrow. I talked to a lot of guys last night that'll be here, or they could come on campus this week.
All right, we're waiting. The audio is kind of clicked out on us. Dave is working there to get it back. As you heard, Shane Beamer over at the Longs Athletic Facility talking right now. And Dave, give me a heads up when you have got this audio back as we are listening to Shane Beamer do his introduction for spring practice, which will get underway tomorrow. I believe I heard Chris and Tyler talking about the viewing session being somewhere around 9:38 in the morning, in which media will be able to go in and observe what is taking place for about 2 or 3. You get to see stretching and maybe some special teams work as it takes place. Dave, I'll ask you here, how are we coming there with the audio?
Well, they handed him a new mic, but he just laid it on the desk. And
Oh, okay. So it's not on us. It is actually on the, I say us, but it's not on the internet. This is actually occurring in terms over there with the technology that they are using.
yes, it's not me.
No, I'm not blaming you. I thought it was the internet, if that makes sense. I thought it might have been the internet. So all right,
Everybody.
so we got some technical difficulties taking place over at Williams-Brice Stadium, and we will kind of continue to update you on that as again Shane Beamer talking today and addressing the upcoming spring practice in which South Carolina will conclude. When you don't have a spring game, I don't know if these things are set in stone in the manner that they have been. You can obviously, let's just say, you got to get 15 practices in. And if you're not going to have a spring game, I don't know what the harm is in carrying it a week or two past April 11th. And that, of course, April 11th will be when the Garnet and Black Spring Fest will take place. Darius Rucker, who, no offense to Darius, but I saw earlier today, Darius put up a video. His tickets went on sale. I hate to say it like this, but it's true. I say it because it's true. And my first thought was, Darius Rucker has aged. He has aged.
How old is he?
I'll have to look. 50s. I'm going to ballpark at least 55. He's got me by some years, and I'm 43. I would go with. Oh no, I'm way wrong. And his birthday's 10 days after mine. He will be 60 in May.
Wow. Okay, I didn't think he was that old.
Okay, all right. No, he hasn't aged. He's just 60. I'm sorry for that, Darius.
Somewhere around 50.
Cracked Rearview was 31 years ago.
Oh, good Lord.
Wow. Okay.
All right, we'll get back.
19 when that came out.
It had been 20-something.
No.
Hold on. No. Okay, 29. Sorry, I'm doing my math wrong.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
There's a reason I chose journalism.
A show full of bacon discussion, but poor math skills.
Well, I'm sure he was doing good things at 19 too.
He was in college. Actually, he was, I think, playing group therapy. Group therapy, I believe, down there 40 some odd years ago.
There's my one math equation for the day. You're welcome.
Speaking of bacon, several of y'all are weighing in. Texter on the microwavable bacon. Absolutely not in the microwave. Ridiculous. Another texter, oven or frying pan. Microwave bacon is blasphemy. We ain't Yankees here. Yes, amen on that. Another texter, totally agree on this. Thick cut bacon from Old Timey Meat Market. That's right. Go by Old Timey Meat Market and get you some thick cut bacon. It is delicious. That texture is correct. Lay it on the grill with just a sprinkle of sugar. Another Russ letting us know to help Dave out. Beth from Lamar went with bacon on a new wave oven is great. So, yeah, a couple of y'all weighing in out there. 803-404-6100. All right, Dave, I tell you what, are they still fiddling with what do we got going here?
Still
He's
no
up there
sound.
talking, drinking the water, taking questions.
I've gone through my alternative means, and nothing's working yet.
Okay.
He's taking questions. We just can't hear it.
All right, let's tell you what, Dave. Let's to not play fast and loose with the rules. I tell you what, let's hit a break, and if we can get him during the break, we'll come back and pick him up from there. Okay.
Tyler Head for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists. Tell you about it all the time. And I'll remind you once again, you always need to be on the lookout for things around your home that are a little bit off. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors and windows that might be sticking, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you notice any of these problems with your home, you could have serious foundation issues. And that's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialists come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfixit.com. They'll send a professional out to your home to evaluate your foundation issues and get them fixed so you and your family can live worry-free going forward. Again, go online to schedule an appointment today over at cantycanfixit.com and let our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists help you out with your home's foundation needs.
Yeah. Let's go back to Shane Beamer over at the Long Athletic Building.
It's I don't want to say scrapped, but it's his system. And just like with Smiley, Coach Smiley coming in to coach special teams, when you can take some things and carry over where it's not as much learning for the players, great. That's easier said than done sometimes. So there's certain things that, Coach Smiley likes to call things that I say, no, we've been calling it this way for 5 years and I don't want to change now. If there's something like that I feel strongly about with Kendall or Coach Smiley, I'll talk about it. But for the most part, it's all new. It's his system. Hopefully it's even better for the players to be able to learn and retain the information. And as far as how involved I am, I believe in hiring good coaches and letting them coach. So, I mean, I'm kept up to speed on what our guys are teaching and doing each and every day, and well aware of that and on board with everything.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about the mic. Going off that, how much different will this spring be? Because I'm guessing you guys will have to implement a vanilla type of playbook because there's no spring game, right? So does that essentially mean you guys will have more time and focus on implementing the early stages of what you guys will probably run during the year?
Not to blow up your question, but probably not. I think it'll be very much status quo, what we've done. We've always installed everything that we wanted to install during spring practice, whether we had a spring game or not. So it won't change, spring game or no spring game. What we're doing, we're trying to do a great job of teaching in the springtime what we want to be about as we get into Kent State and Towson and the opening opponents. That'll be more for the summer. Right now for us, Jack, it's more let's install this offense, this defense, this special teams. Let's lay this foundation. Let's figure out what we're really, really good at, maybe where we're not quite where we need to be and what we need to do this summer. That'll be the focus here this upcoming spring, and it's figuring out, what our guys do best and how to best maximize the offense, defense, and special teams for the upcoming season.
No. Shane, with the amount of players you guys have returning, with the amount of new coaches you have, how much is this spring, as compared to maybe other springs, about getting those guys to learn about each other, their strengths, weaknesses, stuff like that, versus a typical season, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely different because there are so many new faces. Coaches got to learn one another. I mean, there's a lot of new coaches on the offensive side of the ball. We got new coaches on special teams, a new coach on defense, some support staff people. So there's a lot of new that we have to learn one another, strengths, weaknesses of players, how Kendall Briles wants things done. I mean, there's things I'm learning in regards to, what Kendall's used to in practice and what we're used to. And there's certainly a marrying of a lot of different things that are going on right now. So that's exciting, though. That's why we coach, why we do what we want to do. It's about, development and getting better. And we're doing right now what we have to do to get better. But it's an exciting time just because there is so much news, certainly, and new players, new coaches, and we're all trying to, like we've been doing since January, learning what makes each guy tick and what motivates them and how to best connect with them and reach them to be their very best.
Sure. With 5 new offensive coaches, like these first couple weeks of spring ball, do you in any way pay more attention to those guys or the new support staffers, or watch them and try and learn how to coach those coaches, or do you trust them enough through the first couple months that doesn't happen?
You trust them enough because we've been doing a lot of the football workouts in January and February where legally what we can do, we can't be out there competitive things against one another, equipment, things like that, pads you can't do, but I can get out there, or we can get out there, and I can watch Kendall Briles and the offensive coaches teach, install, run through plays on air. So you got a good idea of how he wants to do things. I think it's more me, Jordan, being there for them in regards to here's what's expected during practice. Here's how we'll talk about this here in a staff meeting today and tomorrow. Here's how we practice, and here's the expectations of how we practice here. Here's how we denote field locations. If you don't know where you're going and what you're doing in practice, it can be utter chaos because y'all been out there, that horn blows, and it's 100 players and coaches running around all over the place. You better know where you're going. You better know why we call this end of the field near the building field 1B and why over there is 2A and things like that. So teaching a lot of how we do things to them. And then certainly once we get out there and get going, paying attention to, how they do things and what their mentality is in practice, even though we have gotten a good look at that in these workouts in the last couple months.
Yeah.
With Josiah and Pete obviously out, what would be the plans of left tackle and right tackle as you guys try to figure that out?
Yeah, we've got some guys with some flexibility. Certainly, I think this is no different, and y'all have heard me say this before during spring practice, trying to maximize what guys can do, and the more you can do, the better. With this portal class, with this high school class, we've brought in some guys on the offensive line, certainly that have position flexibility, that can play multiple positions along the offensive line. And we, this will be, it stinks, I'm not going to lie, but it's an opportunity now for these other guys to get more work and get better, and then figure out what it best looks like. So in regards to what it's going to look like, the first rep of practice tomorrow from left to right, not going to get into all that. Jordan and some of these guys can break down the offensive line depth chart and where they line up in individual drills tomorrow. But really, we got 15 practices to figure out, who goes where and who can do what. Knowing we got Darius Gray coming in here in the summertime too, along with getting Jay Peak back healthy too, who I just saw downstairs with his mom and is doing awesome and in great spirits.
Going back to Jordan's question, I'm curious, I know I've asked you a lot about Lenoris's leadership and you don't want to make him someone he isn't, but obviously he kind of plays a vital role in connecting with Kendall and also kind of getting everybody on the offensive end, sort of chemistry-wise, I guess, on the same page. What's his role right now? Is it sort of, gelling with Kendall, those two, or is he kind of that gap between everyone?
I think a little bit of both. There's been a lot of gelling that's been going on with him and Kendall since Kendall got here in January. I think that relationship is really strong right now. There's a compatibility, enjoyment around one another that I see just in my interactions with the two of them when they're together. So that's absolutely part of it. Whether Kendall was here or not here, there's a step that Lenoris has to take as a leader on this football team. I've seen that. And seen him grow, along with a lot of other guys that maybe weren't in major leadership roles last season that are in leadership roles now, and they've embraced that. So I think it's kind of exciting seeing it all come together, and now we really got a chance over these next 15 practices to hit the gas pedal and increase the intentionality of what we're doing. Lenoris is a leader, and Kendall and all the quarterbacks' relationships.
Sure. With all the new minds coming into the staff, I know you've typically held that your game week process is the process you typically follow, but with the new minds coming in, is there any sort of intentional tweaking with different ideas to be open to some changes with the game week process?
As we get into the season?
I guess testing things out in the spring, but yes.
Yeah, no, it's things that you even go back to the interview process that when we were interviewing Kendall, part of my conversations with him were, okay, take me through what a typical week for you looks like as the offensive coordinator, how practice was set up at TCU, for example, which was very similar to how we do it, almost identical. But you're always looking I told the coaches last week in a staff meeting, there's a lot of new faces, and we're not just married and set in our ways here. I mean, we're always looking for ways to do things differently. And we're doing some things differently structure-wise with spring practice that we've tweaked, not because of the new coaches. It was something that Luke Day and myself talked about going back to December of last year. But we're tweaking some things to try and be better. You're always finding a better way to teach, better way to connect, better way to develop. You're always doing that. But certainly when you bring in so many new faces, there's, ideas that come from other places. I told the portal guys last week, I mean, there's a lot of, my math may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've got 8 players that have come here in the transfer portal that in the last 2 seasons either won a national championship at whatever level they were coming from or played in the college football playoff. Think about Caleb Herring, Sam Williams-Dixon, Christian, Jabri. I guess Jabri missed it by a year, but there's a lot of guys that Kelby, that have been in the college football playoff or part of a championship team. So I told them, if there's things that you guys did at other places that you think can help us, I'm all ears. We're not so set in our ways that we don't tweak and change. And you guys have covered me in this program long enough to know that we're always looking to evolve and be better. And when you bring in a lot of new faces, coaches and players, there's opportunities to grow and do some things differently. We've had a lot of success too with the game week schedule that we have, but if there's tweaks that we need to make, certainly more than willing to make them, and this is a good time to do it with a lot of new ideas coming into the building.
Shane, for years, the spring game was always the 15th spring practice.
Yeah.
That won't happen this year. So what will you guys do on that 15th day? Have a scrimmage or just do the festival or whatever?
Yeah, we're gonna, whatever we do, we're gonna go celebrate an awesome end to spring practice and go to the festival down there with Darius and Lauren Alina. That'll be an awesome time. So thankful for them being able to do that. Saw Darius on Sunday night down in Hilton Head with our women's golf team at their tournament. So I hope Kaylin and the ladies are doing well today down there. But that's still to be determined in some ways. Right now, David, I mean, I've planned out all 15 practices and everything's structured and built. So right now, the plan is on that 15th practice, it'll be more of a review of the first 14 practices, a lot of situational work that comes up at the end of the game, 2-minute, 4-minute, get the ball back, all that stuff. But I'm also, as we get closer to it, we'll kind of see where we are as a team and not against going out there on the field and just having a game too. We've always had a lot of fun with the draft that we've done for the spring game, and even though we're not able to do quote unquote a game in the stadium in front of the fans, which I hate and want to get back to doing as soon as possible, I don't like losing the game mentality either, because I think there's a lot of benefits that come from it too. So I think it's more of a, let's see where we are next month when we get into early April, and what do we most need on whatever, I think it's April 11th, on that April 11th date.
John Little. You mentioned earlier some of the gains in the strength and nutrition area. I'm wondering if there was anything particularly eye-popping to you that stands out that you can share with us.
Yeah, I would say one, here it's, well, I looked at my watch, at 1:30 I'm going in a staff meeting, and Luke Day is going to go through literally every player on the team and the winner that they just had. So I'll be able to give you some more concrete things as we go into it. But I would say this, we've got a lot of fast guys. That's one thing that jumps out to me, John, is the speeds at all positions. Running back position, receiver, defensive back, linebacker. We're a faster football team. That jumps out for sure. And then I think some of the body weights, as I mentioned earlier, some of the body fat percentages that went down, but muscle went up. That jumps out at me. But there were some really impressive testing numbers that we had, vertical, broad jump, things like that. The way the guys improved their bench press in a short period of time. A lot of things that I'm excited about. Probably give you some more concrete things after we meet with Luke, but those are just some of the initial eye-opening things that I saw. Sure. And again, now we have to go play football. It's not about the weight room numbers and all that. We got to go play football and carry it over from the weight room to the practice field and then ultimately the game field on Saturdays.
Jordan, did you know or have an inkling that Josiah would miss the season before he came back to the team, or was that something that has only popped up the last week or two?
I knew that whenever we meaning Josiah, his family, the doctors, if and when they decided to do this surgery, that it would be most likely a season-ending type surgery. So we had this conversation with them last year and whatnot. But in regards to Josiah's status on our football team, in regards to whether he came back or didn't come back, from our standpoint, the surgery had nothing to do with it. It was, I always want what's best for each young man in our program, and Josiah is an awesome young man. His mom and dad are special people, and this will be the best thing for them to allow him to play football at South Carolina in 2027 and beyond 2027 as a hopefully professional football player too. This is the best thing for him, to be able to just continue to be at his best.
Alex?
You mentioned some things from a leadership standpoint earlier. From a defensive standpoint, got a few important voices to replace there. Is that something on that side of the ball? You've seen some guys that you're going to have your eye on maybe emerge in that spot? Yeah,
because you're right. We lost a lot of key guys on that defense that have played a lot of football for us, and certainly you saw that coming along last year. But we've got older guys. We're young in a lot of ways, but we got a lot of older guys on that defense. So whether it be returning guys that have played a lot of football in that secondary, we've got three. Fred and J.O. are young in some ways because it's only their third year of college football, but they've played a lot of football. They're very much leaders. Sean Murphy's an older guy that, we popped up a picture in our special teams meeting today of Sean from high school, and, we kind of made eye contact because I was at Oklahoma and went in his high school trying to recruit Sean. So he's played a lot of football for sure. And then up front, guys that are returning, but then we've brought in some guys from the portal that I think have some leadership qualities too along that defensive line. But yes, there's no question about it. You look at our 2024 team, you can sit there and say, man, Debo Williams, Demetrius Knight, Tonka Hemingway, Boogie Huntley, those guys that have been around here for a while, they weren't here last year, and it showed in a lot of ways, and we need to make sure that we don't come out of the 26 season saying, man, the leadership needed to be a little bit better, and that's on all of us, starting with me as the head coach.
Way in the back, Phil.
You've got a lot of guys coming back on defense. You got a lot of new guys coming in on offense, especially now, offensive line. Would you expect at the start of spring that your defense is going to be a good bit ahead of your offense? If people are watching, what would you expect the offense to come out and make a statement very early on? Yeah, I don't want to say that, because then I tick off the offensive coaches, and they're, and I don't want to give them an excuse or a crutch that to not perform well. I think there's high expectations for both sides of the ball to go out and be at their very best. I know a lot of places that I've been, the defense is typically ahead of the offense because for a lot of reasons. I mean, there were spring practices that I had at Virginia Tech going against Bud Foster's defense where you're like, crap, we may not score a point this season. And then I went to somewhere with Oklahoma with Kyler Murray at quarterback, and it's up and down the field from an offensive standpoint. But I think typically in college football, the defenses are a little bit ahead of the offenses early on. There's no question about it. Do I anticipate that here starting tomorrow? I wouldn't say that necessarily. I think there's a great hunger on both sides of the ball. There's a great competitive spirit on both sides of the ball to compete and be their very best. And I would hope that we come out of 15 practices where, from a head coaching standpoint, some days the defense had the better day, some days the offense maybe had the upper hand, but it's extremely competitive and we're making each other better throughout the spring.
Specifically with Lenoris, third OC in 3 years, how did you see him understanding KB's system and, just kind of getting to, adjusting to that new plan after having two other playbooks?
Yeah, one, I think it'll be good for him as he goes into professional football when his college days are over, because more likely than not, he's not going to be in the same offensive system during his NFL career. So being able to learn multiple systems, being able to, hear, it's not like we have a lot of new concepts. Maybe what we called it in 24 or taught in 24 by the quarterback's coach was different by the quarterback's coach in 25, and maybe the verbiage and how Kendall's teaching it is different in 2026. But I think there's a lot of positives and benefits that will certainly come from it with Lenoris, and he's I don't want to get into his business, but he's a football junkie. I mean, he likes football and enjoys the game and spends a lot of time watching football, studying football, watching other teams and things like that. So as a guy that enjoys football like he does, I think this is just another opportunity to really kind of jump into a system and learn a different way of doing some things, and that hopefully will make him and our football team better in the end.
We got time for one more, no?
To go back to the Josiah surgery, are you able to share what the surgery is or area of the body? And you said you've known about it, like the possibility of it for a while, kind of what it stems back from.
Yeah, not really. I don't want to stand up here and tell you something and sound like an idiot in regards to where it stems from and things like that. And then in regards to specifically what it is, I just say, lower body injury and keep it at that, and whatever he or family or anybody else want to elaborate on. It's nothing long term beyond the upcoming season, and disappointing for him, but in order for him to be at his best, it's what needed to happen. He just had some limitations in the weight room because of it that was preventing him from probably being as strong in the lower body as he needs to be, and in order to continue to gain weight and be the player that he wants to be. This will be a thing that will alleviate some of that will allow him to take another step as a player. And again, I know it's, oh my God, Pete got hurt playing basketball, and there's Josiah, who the heck's going to play left tackle. We'll be fine. We got a lot of really good players in that offensive line room, and Pete will be back healthy, and when Josiah gets back, he'll be the best version of himself that he's been in his career also.
We're going to squeeze one last one in, Jonathan Little, real quick.
I think I understood you earlier to say that you had brought in some new people into the building even this week. Anybody you want to share or talk about?
Hired a new assistant special teams coach, or in the process of hiring, so I don't really know what I can say. I don't want to say anything and then get myself in trouble if T's aren't crossed and I's dotted and all that. But when
I got the notification today.
Okay, great. So we've hired a new assistant special teams coach. Mike Kreisel is coming in from Houston with somebody that he's been a special teams coordinator at multiple schools, Samford, Houston, Army, has worked at Arkansas. You know, he was out there with Sam Pittman for a year or so. Tulane, when they had the great season they had a couple years ago, and went to the Cotton Bowl, I believe is what it was. So been a guy that's got a lot of experience, and to be able to pair him with Coach Smiley, somebody that's been a coordinator in the college
Long
level,
athletic building,
along with Coach Smiley, who's been in the pro level. I don't want to say scrap, but has been really good and beneficial to be able to get him here. So add Mike to our team when Joe D left.
All right, there you go. That is Shane Beamer wrapping up a little bit earlier today over at the athletic facility, addressing the spring situation. We have yanked all the fire alarms around here. We have ripped off our shirt and screamed loudly up and down the building due to the Josiah Thompson injury. We are in complete chaos and panic mode. So if you'll give us a break, we'll regroup ourselves. You regroup yourself, and we'll come back and actually discuss this. You're listening to The Halftime Show. All right, we're going to have a quick segment here, and then we're back on our regular schedule. J.C. Sherbert coming up at 2:15 in the next hour to discuss some of this initial huge news, and I don't know how huge it is the Josiah Thompson news. Now, on the surface, it's huge.
Of course.
Then you take a step back and you go, well, how good was Josiah Thompson going to be this year? We were kind of looking at him. I'll be honest, I wanted him here. I didn't want to lose him in the transfer portal, Tyler, because I think he's got upside, but that upside had to be coached.
Sure.
He was going to have to develop in the spring. There's a lot to kind of unpack, quite honestly, from what Shane Beamer. I know we're working on that audio, and maybe we can get it what it was actually said, because it sounds like the injury not only occurred last year, but was felt and affected how Josiah Thompson played in 2025.
Yeah, and maybe that, again, contributed to why he had the struggles that he had a year ago. And, if you don't have the Jacarius Peak injury a couple weeks ago, it's still a headline, but maybe is not as big of one. But you kind of looked and said, okay, well, you've lost what you thought your starting left tackle was going to be. For the time being, at least, he's probably your option, considering you played the spot the past 2 years. Now what do you do? So, again, these things are starting to add up a little bit, unfortunately.
Well, it just means getting Jacarius Peak back by the Alabama game has got to be
yes
the best scenario, or however you want to phrase it. Like, that's got to happen now. Whatever we're being told, this, that, the other. Hopefully you can win, and you should. I mean, let's be clear. The Kent State and Towson game without him. Mississippi State, gauge that one out how you will.
Sure.
Josiah Thompson, I think, was still going to be in a battle for the right tackle position with some of the older guys. Dane Arnett, Seth Smith, some of the other guys. And it was going to be, how did he develop? From a starting standpoint, I'd have liked to seen him be the guy. That was what it was supposed to be. In the grand scheme of things, maybe him missing spring to do weight, spring and as long as the surgery goes well and everything heals, do weightlifting, develop, do the things that most offensive linemen need to do to redshirt unless they're truly ready. I'm trying to remember the guy from Alabama that went in and was a stud from day one and then was doing splits. What was he? The big, huge left tackle that went to the Giants a couple years ago.
I don't remember.
But anyway, very rarely do you have it. South Carolina's had a couple that come in. Travell Wharton really is the one that kind of comes to mind for me. There have been others, but that come in and are instantly ready to play. But we'll talk more about that and also a few other things. At least it sounds like we have the future of the spring game under Shane Beamer. Pretty emphatic, I thought, on that one. We'll talk about that as well. You're listening to the Halftime Show. All right, wrapping up eventful hour, Tyler Head. Shane Beamer didn't disappoint today. I think he went 31 minutes, 29 minutes.
Well, we were
we got a little behind,
so I can't tell you exactly how long. But yeah, he fulfilled his usual 30 minutes plus maybe a couple extra.
He had a 1:30 meeting, as he said in the press. I did not know that. That was not public information on my betting line of 37 minutes on the over/under. But so I was messed with by the meeting. But nonetheless, about 32 minutes of a lot of good content there. Now, I'm going to say this. It's all in what you want to hear.
Sure.
It's all in what you hear. And I am not going to blame any of y'all in how you want to hear things. Me, personally, as a fan, as a person who does this job, as a person who is suffering with the rest of y'all through all of sports. By the way, JC will join us. Inside the Gamecocks put out a stat last night that I retweeted about men's sports. Not attractive. Not attractive. But with that being said, if you want to be kind of like I am and be a little bit of a cynic, I guess, a little bit of a pessimist, be like, you know what, I don't care. Show me.
Yeah.
You show me. You show me in August. You show me in August what you've done. You at that point, and I'm not picking on Shane Beamer, and I think it's a very, very fair thing to say, Tyler, and then you can give the unbiased opinion of me but all those, that's great. We're jumping farther. We're running faster. We look more toned. A bunch of beach bodies. Mm-hmm. All those things. You want to impress me? You do it come September when the season starts, and I'll see then what I think if you actually made that progress.
Because here's the thing. If you listen to any coach press conference to start the spring, if you listen to any coach when we go to media days coming up in July, everything's great. Offseason's been great. Best group of guys they've ever been around. Everybody's bigger, faster, stronger. They're good in the weight room. They're eating better. The health is good. Like, all that stuff's great. But, yes, especially for a team that's in the position like South Carolina, show me. Like, yeah, I'd rather you be saying more positive things than negative things throughout the offseason, but I'm not going to sit here and believe it until I see it.
Right. That's I mean, I just, and if you just want to be an optimistic person and be like, I love it, sounds great, he's done everything he can. Look, they've had a great offseason.
Yeah.
If you've got one of those Men in Black laser pointer things and you can erase your memory somehow from August, we'll just draw it up as or September 1, I believe. Was it? No, it was August 31st, I believe. From August 30th through December 1, and you can erase your memory. And you can start in December, use it, and then you can be the ultimate optimist and be like, oh, what an offseason. Great recruiting class, solid portal class. Kendall Briles, fantastic. As you mentioned, Stan Drayton, Randy Clement, nice.
Great.
Okay. And you feel very good about everything. And if you want to say, well, hey, he's figured out, I'm all for it. Go for it. But Josiah Thompson, certainly, that gives us a better idea. So now you know Jacarius Peak out for the summer, probably out for the first 2 games. Now Josiah Thompson, that's the big news today, out for the spring. And as Shane Beamer said, probably out for 2026. Other things that kind of came of this, Shane Beamer was kind of adamant. He looks forward to getting back to doing spring games. Mm-hmm. You and I have had the discussion a little bit. What does the future look like for South Carolina doing spring games? I think it's very clear that this is something that Shane Beamer finds near and dear to his heart and wants to have it as long as he's the head coach of the University of South Carolina. There will be some form of spring game, not a spring event, a spring game that takes place when that stadium is ready again.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because, again, he's been one of those coaches that's always advocated for it, and they do have a legitimate excuse this year. If there weren't stadium construction going on, I have no doubt that on April 11th, instead of Garnet and Black Fest, or maybe that'd be a different day, we'd be talking about, or maybe Friday night before or whatever, we'd be talking about Carolina having a spring game. So, yeah, I don't have any doubts they'll return to that, but it was good to have that confirmation because, again, we've just kind of been speculating at this point. There was never like a definitive, no, you're not having it really up until today either. So we got that, and then we got the, hey, but, we're planning on bringing this back once we, have the stadium to do so.
So that's if you're thinking that South Carolina, you may have seen the last of, well, I'll say this because we know everything is always fluid. But if you've seen the last of spring, we've not seen the last of spring games under Shane Beamer.
Right.
Hypothetically, something goes crazy and you got a new coach in 2027. Maybe there's no spring game, but at least now, as long as Shane Beamer is the coach, we will do spring games. Anything else out of that caught your attention that we've kind of discussed or maybe not discussed here in the last few minutes?
Just kind of looking up and down it. I mean, there's going to be different things in terms of how certain coaches do things. He did mention that, he puts his trust in them to be able to handle things as long as they understand the structure of practice and all that kind of stuff. But nothing really standing out to me based on what he said.
I will say, I'll be interested if you can pull the audio, and just the way he worded it, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to anything going on. He did give me a sense of panic and stress when he talked about being on the practice field and having to go to this particular field, this section, do this, do that. And he's right. I've been out there for that when you've seen, and this is the irrelevant part, when they break from stretching and you got basically 100 guys running in about 100 different directions to get where they go. And he's talking about teaching all the new transfers, the new early enrollees from high school, where you got to go on how they do things, how they structure things, not just to have them ready for spring ball, but also how you have them ready for August when you come back and everybody's got to be on the truly the same page.
Yeah, no, and I get that. And again, a lot of new faces, a lot of new coaches, and all that kind of stuff. And we'll see how much we can decipher from these weekly check-ins with Beamer. But yeah, outside of the Josiah Thompson thing, not a whole lot of major headlines here.
Other injuries just that will limit players. Jaden Gibson, the wide receiver from Oklahoma, will be limited, still battling the knee injury. Kobe Saki will be.
Bra.
Yeah, for whoever I'm looking at, it's Soki P. I don't know for Saki P. I don't know if that's we're shortening this up or a new rap name, but he will be limited. He suffered, I believe, a knee injury last year during the season that knocked him out. Quay Dodd, another edge rusher, had surgery in December and will be limited. Zavari Sandy will be limited. George Wilson, I think I'm not being funny, about a seventh-year edge player will be limited. And Dylan Stewart, no surprise here, will be limited to start practice. He said to start practice, that I find interesting, due to the injury he played through at the end of last season. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Players that are out. This one actually is the first player that I go like, yeah. Caleb Williams, defensive tackle, got hurt in October. That's a guy you'd have loved to have Travian Robertson working with to develop depth and maybe compete for a starting position even as a redshirt freshman. That's the first one I go, I don't like that. I'd like to see him. Big kid, has a lot of potential. Missing spring isn't going to help. All right. Hour 3 on the way. J.C. Sherbert set to join us coming up at 2:15. We'll get into a lot more of this. Also, coming up in the next segment, talk a little basketball as we get ready for tonight's senior night over at CLA. It is 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. Shane Beamer has talked. We'll have plenty of audio for you coming up later on today and tomorrow for anything you have missed. The significant news is that Josiah Thompson. Now, there is a line here on how significant this is, and I think it's entirely based on how you feel about the offensive line. Do you look at Josiah Thompson and say, like, well, I was going to pencil him in because he'd been a starter for 2 years and he didn't, he didn't live up his potential because of Lonnie Teasley, but under Randy Clements, I think he can get there, so I'm going to pencil him as a starter. All right, we got him as a starter. Now let's find the other 4 guys or 3 guys, however you want to view it. At that point, you might go, well, that's a significant announcement. I'm pretty worried now. You might also take the view of it. Well, he wasn't pretty good. He wasn't good at last year. He struggled. That's putting it mildly, nicely, however you want to phrase it. And you might be the person who looks at Josiah Thompson and goes, man, you got to earn that spot. You got to go out there and you got to show me that you can be an SEC at this point now right tackle. And for you to do that, it's going to start in spring ball. And the fact that he's out, you might go, well, all right, just next man. Who's the guy? We might have Seth Smith or Dane Arnett or one of the other guys that's been. I mean, theoretically, Darius Gray, I guess, even though he's not on campus, could come in and you're looking at him. So the point being is I think it's just all in the eye of the beholder and how you want to view it and say, yeah, this is huge news. Okay, it's kind of just answers one less body, but we hit the transfer portal pretty hard, and it looks like this was planned on. Now, got a question in on the text line. Said, did Beamer say when Thompson got hurt, did we take back damaged goods? And, I'll ask this. I'll say that I'll respond to that with this. I mean, Shane was vague about when the injury occurred. And somebody else weighed in and asked, do you think Thompson got hurt, or do you think Thompson was hurt along, and that's why no other schools took him in the portal? Beamer had said the circumstances with Thompson were different than many other players who wanted to return. That comes from Vince. That is an interesting concept because according to Shane, this injury either occurred before last year, during last year. Shane did make it sound that this injury hampered Josiah Thompson during the 2025 season. There's a lot to unpack from that. How significant was the injury? How significantly was it impacting Josiah Thompson? Should have he gone ahead and gotten the surgery during the season and missed at time, and you should have just gone with Jatavius Shivers or one of the other tackles? Tree Babalade. I don't know. We didn't get an answer. I don't think we're going to do that, by the way. I'm not going to go down that path of, there's HIPAA and healthcare protection, privacy and all that. Okay, I don't know. But that is an interesting question that I think we'll be debating unless some news kind of leaks, filters out on that. In terms of damaged goods taken back, look, you took him back. You got to. If Josiah Thompson walked through that door in December and said, hey, Coach, I made a mistake, as long as he was in good standing, as long as he didn't go out stealing teammates' stuff and cussing out the coaching staff and punching out mannequins, and you get the point. You had to take him back. He has a lot of potential by all accounts. He's a great kid, great family. Something occurred. Maybe he thought it was better to leave. Maybe he thought the grass was greener. We all know those people. And he realized it wasn't greener. And maybe he got out there, and maybe the injury, maybe teams saw it. There was a lot of rumors about Miami and Georgia. And that is a very real possibility, Vince, that he got out there and went to Miami and went to Georgia, and they did a physical. They went, we'll pay you $5 to come here. You get $5 in NIL money to come here. And Josiah went, it's not worth it. Now, that's very possible. And I don't think you can rule that out. But he's back. He's at the University of South Carolina. He could be a player that helps out down the line. I think most offensive linemen, and JC, we'll talk with JC Sherbert coming up in about 10 minutes. JC will tell you most offensive linemen, 90%, need to redshirt. They need 1 year, just one singular year. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be great their redshirt freshman year, but they need a singular year in the weight room, learning how to play the tackle. There's no bigger freak athlete. I don't care who it is. There's no bigger freak athlete than defensive ends in the SEC. He's 6'4", 6'5", 260, 250-pound human beings running 4.4s, 4.5s, power, broad shoulders. and you got to back up and protect your quarterback. That's a hard job. And to do it as a 18-year-old, there's a few. There's a few that can step in and do it. There's not many. And Josiah Thompson, even for being a 5-star, and performed fine his freshman year. Again, fine is the key word. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. Yeah, you did expect him to take a step forward last year. But with that being said, having him back is a good thing. And now you get him healthy, and you put him in the marinade box, and you open it up in 2027, you go, all right, what do we got here? So that was the big news. The other news for me, spring games will continue at the University of South Carolina under Shane Beamer, and that is important. That is a family event. We can talk more about spring games as we get closer to the 11th and what they truly mean in the grand scheme of things. Is it good for the players? Sure. Yeah, okay. Do I think it's better for the fan base? A free event, bring the younger kids, do all those fun things. Enjoy a Saturday in April to tailgate with friends, to get out there and see what the football team looks like, even if you're not going to learn much. I think it's big for the fan base. And maybe that's not always why you do it. You don't do things always for your fan base, but I do think it's a positive thing. So we'll continue to see that after this year. AJ says, I did not have Thompson penciled in at left tackle. Did you see the 2025 tape? You have to earn your spot back after getting in the portal. Well, number one, he wasn't going to be the left tackle, so I hope you didn't have him penciled in there. That wasn't. If you were thinking left tackle, you were already just wrong. So don't pencil him in, even if he was healthy. 2, that's the point. And again, 3, you mentioned the 2025 tape. Well, now we're potentially learning that Josiah Thompson had an injury, which take from it what you will, that may have hampered his 2025. And why he's now having surgery. I think there's a lot there. But the bottom line, none of it matters anymore. None of it matters. He's out, and you can put him in the back of your mind. 803-404-6100 tonight over at Colonial Life Arena. It'll be the final home game for the University of South Carolina, and I think it's fair to bring the question up, and not being mean, it's fair to bring up the question of, is it the final home game for Lamont Paris? Again, I mentioned this yesterday. The countdown clock is on. South Carolina plays next Wednesday in the SEC tournament. As things stand now, according to the standings I'm looking at, they would be set to play Texas A&M in the first round of the SEC tournament. They would be the 16 seed. Texas A&M would be the 9 seed. Right now, Texas, Vanderbilt, and Texas A&M are all right there at 9 and 7 in conference, but I believe due to tiebreakers, A&M would get that 9th slot there, lining them up for a game against South Carolina. And the way Bucky ball is played and the way South Carolina plays, not really a good fit for the Gamecocks. Not a matchup that I would prefer if I had to select from all these teams. Not one of them. Not the worst. Don't want to see the Florida Gators, but not the matchup South Carolina really needs either. So with that being said, you kind of look at the season and you go, all right, the expiration date likely next Wednesday, March the 11th. And if that is the case, we talked yesterday with Jamie Bradford. Tyler and I agreed that you would expect a public announcement on Lamont Paris from Jeremiah Donati. I don't know what changes. I know that there's a lot of reports and rumors out there. This is my take. There's a lot of reports and rumors out there that Jeremiah Donati has not made a decision on Lamont Paris just yet. I believe the only way that is possible is if Jeremiah Donati wants to sit down and have a face-to-face and hear the plan or implement changes directly to Lamont Paris. Lamont, you're going to fire this guy. You're going to fire that guy. We're going to look at this assistant coach. We're going to go hire that person. You're going to hire a GM to manage your roster. There's one of two things. Either Jeremiah Donati, if he has not made a decision, wants to hear what Lamont Paris's plan is to get this thing fixed in one singular year, or Jeremiah Donati has set a plan, and it's no longer Lamont Paris's option. He must follow said plan, or Jeremiah Donati will then make a change himself. So that's the only way to me. I mean, what is changing that would lead Jeremiah Donati to still be without decision between now and next Wednesday? The money's not changing. No, you're not magically finding $15 million or $12 million in your bank account. Money Ferry not showing up. You're not. The record is what it is. Even if you win the games this week, I don't know what that necessarily changes, aside from the fact you'll be 5-13 and slide up into the 13 spot and not in the last spot. And that's if you win both of them this week. The season is what it's been. You're losing the guys that you're losing, and who knows what's going to happen in the transfer portal with guys like E.J. Walker, who I like, guys like Eli Ellis that I think with another year of development can be continue to be a very solid player. Eli Ellis, by the way, has had a good year. For a freshman, I know the expectation was like through the roof on Eli Ellis. And no, he has not shot the ball well from three-point range, which is supposed to be his calling card. But Eli Ellis has had a good season and has at times been the guy who brings it each and every night and plays with that fire. Michi Johnson has been the stud and the standout. But I can say this, when Eli Ellis steps on the court, you know you're getting 110% out of him. And you're usually getting that out of Michi as well. There's just been some mental mistakes that have kind of harmed him. But Eli averaging 9.3 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He's done a good job averaging just 1 turnover. Again, that 3-point percentage is the one that really bothers you, 28.9% for a guy that I think a lot of people thought would be a lot closer to 40%. But is somebody tampered with him already? There's obviously a school that his brother is already going to, and boy, how easy it is for him to be home. And said coach of school that his brother is committed to FaceTime Isaac Ellis. And while Eli is standing there, it's technically not tampering if you're contacting your recruit, but his brother is a solid guard at another university. You get my point. Tampering a lot easier to do when you got a situation like that. So what's going on with Eli? There's just so many questions. There's so many questions that will need to be answered by Lamont Paris, Jeremiah Donati, and we'll start to get answers, I believe, no sooner than next Thursday. And then hopefully by the time we're wrapping up the program, we will not have a show, that's this Friday. By the time we're wrapping up next Friday, hopefully we'll have some form of an answer on a lot of these things and be moving our discussion on Lamont Paris, Jeremiah Donati, and the basketball program forward. But tonight, final game, I do encourage you. It's an early game, and that's not convenient for getting off work and trying to get to Colonial Life Arena. Mike Shamjants, or Mongolian Mike, Michi Johnson, Kobe Knox, Miles Studi, who is out, I believe, tonight or was questionable according to the report, Norton Capich. These guys deserve, Eli Sparkman, these guys deserve a send-off. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's been bad. It's not been good. I'm not trying to sell y'all that these guys have come in here and turned the program around. But Michi has given South Carolina 3 hard-fought years. He seems to love this place. He seems to love the fans. The fans seem to love him. I hate to see it. It'll probably happen. To only have about 3,000 people there on his senior night. If you haven't seen it, you can go to his Twitter account. He put out kind of I don't know if it's a plea, but he put out a tweet about he didn't have a senior night in high school, didn't think he'd ever have one. He's really looking forward to tonight. I expect some kind of performance from him. He's going to shoot it a lot. He's going to get some shots. Michi Johnson going to let it go tonight. There's going to be certain times the other 4 may not need to come back down the floor with him offensively. That ball's going up. Doesn't matter who's guarding him. So, and good for him. Go get your shots in, young man. Try and put up a number tonight. And he's got to do it for South Carolina to have a chance to begin with. So, no problems there. But go support. If you can, get out, clap for those guys, support them. I don't care what you think about Lamont Paris. I don't care what you think about the basketball program. Those players need some support. They've, as far as I know, as far as we all know, they've been good ambassadors. I don't know of anything off the court. I think they've played relatively hard throughout the season. They've tried to represent the university. Hopefully they'll have a decent little crowd there on a send-off, and CLA won't be taken over by the Big Orange. 803-404-6100. We'll catch up with J.C. Sherbert. There's a lot to unfold and talk about from this afternoon, and we will do that when we come back. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. Let me tell you, there is nothing better than showing up on an afternoon at the Lexington location, just perusing the steaks, the chicken, the pork, everything in there, finding a nice cut of seafood that is delicious, even scrolling's on my phone, even wandering around the freezer section and checking out all the great items they have, including chicken salad and pimento cheese. There is no better place to be than Old Timey Meat Market, because you know what? I know it's going to lead to a great, phenomenal dinner with either Austin or Ansley, my kids, and that means quality time with the family. And that's the way it should be. You go to your family butcher, the old school, your local neighborhood butcher, and that's exactly what Old Timey Meat Market wants to be. They want to be an old school meat buying experience where they know your name, you know their name. It's a family valued establishment. So stop by one of their 3 locations, Irmo, South Congaree, Lexington, and tell them Bill Gunner sent you. It is 2:19 on a Tuesday, or as we refer to it around here, a J.C. Sherbert Tuesday. And, J.C., you were trying to do your show. Shane Beamer's trying to talk. You're trying to listen and figure out what's going on. You're trying to do a show. I'm sure that was a really hectic 2 hour or hour there stretch for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely was, man. Definitely was. Getting busy.
Well, let's get into it. I know you hadn't had much time to kind of think about the implications here, but I know you've kind of talked about it. Obviously, the news today on Josiah Thompson, and let's just ask you, man, your thoughts, your initial thoughts on what this means. How did it maybe happen? Just your overall view.
Well, no, I mean, it's not my initial thoughts. I mean, I hinted around about it on the show last week. Everybody, and on my show, your show, everybody's. That's why I kept saying, I don't know. I didn't want to just come out and say it. But there was some question as to whether or not he'd be healthy. Now, I didn't know he was going to be out for the whole year. That was the thing. I didn't know how, I guess, serious it was. I do know that, knee problems have come up with him, throughout his career at South Carolina. I think that, if you look at why did they bring him back out of the portal, that's a fair question, for somebody that's not going to be able to help you. But the thing is, when you look at the roster, there's a ton of players that are like one and done in that room. So the thought process is he's still talented. It's not like Josiah Thompson's not talented. You bring him back, he rehabs, gets the surgery, sits out, gets that redshirt year, and then he can really help you in 2027. Now I know we're in this era of college football, and anybody can leave at any time and all that. It's just a risk you run. But I think strategically, if people are wondering why they brought it back, if this was kind of a known thing, that's why. Because you got to look at your whole roster and plan for down the road, just like you plan for this year. And you've got a lot of older players that you brought in from the portal that are going to be gone out of eligibility after this year. So I think it's smart, but I think that what this does is it probably leaves Shed Surratt at tackle. Would be my guess. And then there's a mixture of transfer portal guys plus Ademola Ajidahun, a redshirt freshman, that'll be in the mix to see. I guess we're looking to see which two start against Kent State coming up with a season opener. So there's a lot of work to do there this spring.
And it'll be interesting. And that kind of brings me to the other question. What do you expect to hear publicly, not behind the scenes, but publicly from Randy Clement, who I know we'll be hearing from at some point this spring, and from Shane Beamer in terms of development? And I'm going to go out on a limb and say they don't come out of spring publicly with a set starting five. I think that carries into the fall. Are you in agreement with that, or do you think they try to establish a public starting five around the late April 11th or 12th?
Well, because there's no, I don't know. Last year somebody got in trouble for projecting the depth chart based on practice, and that was way too early of a practice to do it. But and then there's no spring game. We can speculate. I don't expect anything to be public. Beamer doesn't release a depth chart, I think, till the week of the first game. But behind the scenes, if you can get some idea, I think publicly, whatever happens. I think it's always good. Most coaches will tell you that when you have a set five, I think there's going to be a lot of, in spring, though, mixing and matching, learning. There's a lot of new. There's a new system. There's new coaches. There's new players. The fact that there's so many new players that weren't at Carolina last year, actually, I think is beneficial because it's a complete blank slate across the board. And so, Randy Clements can just sit there, put his guys together, see who's best, and go from there. But, I think there's going to be great competition at the tackle spot now, obviously, both of them. Maybe Surratt, if Surratt stays at right tackle, he's probably, I would say, the favorite, but left is wide open. And, you've got several options there with portal guys and also Ajidahun. But I don't know that – I think it would be good internally, if they had a five identified. So these are my five and ready to go. I don't know that publicly, we're going to get that. And then I don't know that it's I don't know necessarily you have to have a five over the summer or maybe like a top seven, and you battle it out in preseason when you have more practices and things like that.
Let's go through some of these real quick here, and I'm going to start at the tackle position since, as you said, there's more. There's a lot of new bodies. In particular, I think the first two I'll look to at tackle, and I kind of, whatever your opinion is, it is what it is. But Seth Smith and Dane Arnett appear to be two, as I read this, that are legitimate tackles, more so tackles than maybe swing guys that are still available. When you see that right there, do you have an idea as to maybe which one? And I guess should I throw Armando Neves in there?
Yeah, he was a tackle at New Mexico State. Arnett could also play inside.
Okay,
but
But of the all right, if I just say JC of those three, if I just say of those three, who do you have the higher expectation for? Do you have one in particular?
I like Seth Smith a lot. The kid from Northern Arizona kind of fits the size, athleticism profile, and he started all 13 games as a left tackle last year for the Lumberjacks. Okay. I like Dane Arnett. I think the big tough kid. Maybe he's a little more of a right tackle to me. And then Neves could be a swing guy and play either spot. And then you have Ajita Hoon, obviously, that's returning, and Surratt. But of those three, like, my opinion is, and this is just opinion, it's not based on any kind of knowledge, is Seth Smith is the guy to kind of circle out of all those guys. Just because he's he's light-footed. He kind of fits the mold. Now, I don't know. Will it be that? Will it end up that way? I have no idea. Some of these guys have to come in and play, but we'll see what happens. But I think I've kind of got my eye on him at left and Surratt at right. I don't think they'll move Surratt to left. Maybe they will. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's a lot. We're playing a wild game of, and I say that we don't know. Like you said, they're going to get out there. And you mentioned you got a great point. There's a clean slate for everybody. There's a new offensive line coach, and so it's a clean slate. Going to the center position, one name that was not on the injury report that I thought was huge, Marquis Anderson. Finding where he fits, I think, is huge for the spring. And you've got also Barrett Carter. Is it Barrett? Why am I saying Barrett Carter? Who is Barrett Carter? Barrett Miller. Is the other, Carter Miller. All right, there's a Barrett, a Carter, and a Miller. I'm going to have to get the name straight. Carter Miller seems like the guy that is penciled, keyword penciled, not pinned in at center. Is Marquis Anderson the competition there, or again, is this just so wide open because of the ability to maybe move guys in and out?
No, and one guy I forgot to mention, too, Nolan Hay played some tackle at Incarnate Word before he came in. I think Marquis is probably a guard, Bill. I don't. Maybe they rep him at center, but that would be a change if he were a center. I think the guys at center to watch. I do think Carter Miller is probably the leader in the clubhouse. If I were just projecting there, Nolan Hay was the backup last year before he played one game and got hurt. I don't think he was terrible in that game against Missouri at all. So he'll compete. Ibubike Nagbubu.
Yeah, good luck.
Boo-boo, I call him? Yeah, actually, I think I got it right. It's taken me 2 weeks. I love him on film. He's a big, strong kid. He actually started at left tackle last year at Missouri State, but he's 6'2", 310. Now, that'd be an outlier in the SEC if you're a starting left tackle at 6'2", 310. But he played center at Delaware State. I found some film when he played for Del State at center. I thought he's really, really good. Moves around, snaps it well. I don't know if the plan's play him at center or not, but that's a guy that could factor in on the interior. And then another guy, Kojo Poku from East Carolina. He's played some tackle in his career, probably more of a right tackle. Probably a left guard, I would think, if Surratt stays at tackle, but that's a guy to watch as well. But center, to me, I think, Miller would be my favorite with Hay backing him up. Then maybe Boo-Boo's in that mix. And then after that, who knows? I don't, at this point, I don't think Darius Gray is going to be a center when he gets here, but who knows? But I think that's kind of how I see it in my mind here without knowing.
We'll come back and cover a few other guys on this offensive line. But I'll say this, JC, and I know we love him. I'm a big fan of Todd Ellis. Todd, with some of these names, good luck. Good luck. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2:35 on your Tuesday. J.C. Sherbert joining us here. He'll roll with us for another 20 minutes, right up to 2:55 today, as we'll cover a few more topics, including this offensive line, which, J.C., we don't expect to get a whole lot of information, right? Like publicly. I'm not even talking about a depth chart or anything like that. I'm just everything. This is who Shane is, and it's perfectly fine. He's an ultra positive guy. He's going to support his players. Everything's great. The winter workouts were great, some of the best they've ever had. Some people are saying it's the greatest winter workout ever in the history of college football. You get the point on that. You can get that reference. The truth is, Shane's positive, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like that about him. Publicly, he's going to be ultra positive, support his team. I don't know how much people buy into that this spring. Your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, look, man. Anytime you go, look, the losing around here is getting old. It's wearing on a lot of people. It's as bad as it's ever been in the three major men's sports at South Carolina. It's just all happened at once, kind of snowballed, right? I don't think there's any sense in dwelling on it. You just have to get out of it. But the Gamecocks in baseball, men's basketball, football since January. You could really go back to New Year's Eve of 2024, but I'll keep the cutoff on January 1st of 2025. There's been 88 game days. Maybe a little less because sometimes, like basketball, will play the same day as baseball, stuff like that. But 88 games in a day that Gamecock fans have woken up to, and they've only gone to bed at night with 13 wins since January against Power League competition, which is what matters. Quite frankly, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, but also, you judge yourself based on how you do against your peers. And that's concerning, I think, with everybody. Now, it's not on Shane Beamer that basketball and baseball are struggling, just like it's not on Lamont Paris that football had the season it did. Those are different sports. But because of that, and because – last season's, you look at the players on the roster, and Beamer said this, that he thought they had really good players and all that. There's some, desire on the part of the fan base to get it right. Now, do I think there's going to be, 40,000 in the stands at Williams-Brice Stadium when they play Kent and everybody's going to be in show-me mode and all that like it kind of is in some other sports? No. I think Gamecock fans are going to show up loud and proud. They'll be just as excited. But as far as, will anybody believe what anybody says about the offensive line? After about 10 years of being, I think 1 year they were considered probably decent or good, not just under Beamer. There's going to be some skepticism about that, and it, the reality is you can't really. If they're bad this year, it's because this year's offensive line is bad. It has nothing to do with what happened last year because there's a bunch of new players and a new coach and a new scheme and all that. But, do I think anything super positive about the O-line is going to be met with hosannas out there? No, I don't. And that's just kind of the reality of when you go 4-8 and, the whole athletic department right now with regards to men's sports is struggling, and people are tired of losing, and that's all people. That's what people care about. They can you go out there and win games? And the offensive line is a critical part of that. So that's I think you've got a good point that it's no matter what anybody says, it's what they call show me mode, especially at that position. I think everything else, it's probably pretty fair to be a little bit at least fired up about it. But that position has just been in the dumps for so long, and it's wrecked seasons that you sort of hope that you kind of quit hoping and want to believe based on what you see at some point.
Let me ask you this: you said something, and we're going to transition away from the offensive line for right now. We'll revisit that maybe somewhere else at another time soon. You made an interesting comment, and it dawned on me. Shane Beamer really liked what he had last year in his football program, and maybe he really did have something. Lamont Paris came, at least on my program, and other places, I believe, and really liked what he had in his basketball program until they became what they are now. Both coaches went to the masses and really praised what they had, only for disastrous seasons. Correlation, overconfidence. I'm sorry, I hit my mic button. How do you address that? What do you take from that? Is it just coaches being coaches? Is it that easy?
No, I think it's well. Paul Maneri said the same thing. By the way, just want to clear.
Give him a little more time, but I know.
Three different things with all those situations. I think you can trace football. It's not all one thing in football, but there's a primary, and I think the Mike Shula thing just blew up in his face. He wasn't the only one that was. Everybody was kind of behind it, including myself. I'll admit I was dead wrong about it. It shocks me that was the plan when you kind of figured out what the plan was. I thought they were just going to continue to run what they, just kind of it was just kind of be like the Dowell Loggins offense. Just got there and call it. But, I think Shula just it just wasn't his strength. Maybe he'd seen better days as a play caller, and it just did not work with their personnel and what they were trying to do. And then on top of that, you had a situation where everybody usually you have a couple of teams on the schedule that you think you could lose to them, but then you get to the games and they're not very good. And so you usually, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is more manageable than I thought. Not this past year, because even the teams that were kind of down, like Missouri and LSU, Carolina played them before Bo Pribula got hurt. When they were undefeated and ranked in the top 15 or whatever at their place. And then LSU still had a season when Carolina went down there. Both were fourth quarter games, and they lost both of them, but they didn't even get that break. You'd love to have gotten LSU after Brian Kelly got fired, and they'd kind of just, mailed it in, or get Missouri without their quarterback, but they didn't. And then look, Beamer mentioned this, Texas A&M, best season they've ever had. Record-wise, Ole Miss, maybe the best season they've ever had. They're both on the schedule late. Alabama was a playoff team. Oklahoma was a playoff team. Oklahoma was not a playoff team last year. They were 6-7. And so I'm not ever one, because you got to go play your schedule right. And I think the Clemson game, if you want to look at it, figure out an inexcusable loss, that one sort of didn't sit well with people, because I don't know that Clemson was that much better than Carolina. But that was part of it. Now, a little bit better plan on offense, maybe some of those closer games go your way. I think you could trace it all to that this past year, and obviously Beamer had a fix for it. I mean, if it wasn't an issue, there wouldn't have been those changes. So with basketball, I don't even know what to tell you besides maybe. I mean, they recruited a team that's supposed to be able to shoot, and they can't shoot. And then the deficiencies they knew they were going to have, rebounding, big things like that, are still issues. So I don't know what to say about that other than, we can talk about NIL money and stuff, and I think that's, no matter what the future holds for the program, I think they're going to have to boost that for that program. But I also think that, they need to find players. I mean, you think about people can say what they want about, like, Dave Odom and Frank Martin. Those guys found players. They might not be the household names, but they get to Carolina, they could play. And I think that's going to be important no matter how much money you have, because there's a lot of basketball programs that are better, more attractive options that are going to have just as much money no matter what you do. So those are the factors with roster construction there. I think that's definitely roster. Okay. So then we get to baseball. I think that swings back towards the other side of things.
Yeah, baseball. I'll say this: I don't like the direction it's going, and I don't expect it to improve. But I'm willing to wait just a little bit longer before pronouncing that one dead and gone. But I'll give it. This weekend was not good, and it was probably a glimpse into the future. But Clemson's good. Clemson's a very, very good baseball team. They can get to Omaha. Just unfortunately, the expectation is South going to get there too. All right, let's hit a break, and then you and I will come back. J.C. Sherbert, Bill Gunner, Captain David Ayer will wrap up the halftime show you're listening to. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Can you figure out what the weather's doing right now? Probably not. Nope. Oh, sure, you can look at your weather app, but it's not cooperating. So, therefore, you don't know what to do with your heating and air unit, and that may cause a few issues with your heating and air unit. It's that time of the year that you got to start prepping for summer heat in the Midlands. And the best way to do that is by giving AAA Heating and Air a call. If you've got a repair that needs to be made, AAA Heating and Air can take care of that. But if you need a brand new heating and air unit, AAA Heating and Air is ready to help you with guaranteed financing, a 15-year parts and labor guarantee, and get this, no payments or interest for 12 months. AAA Heating and Air is there to make sure that you are ready for the summer heat. Don't wait a day longer. Don't let this creep up on you. Call today, 803-677-1500. Again, that's 803-677-1500, and tell them Bill Gunner sent you. In the previous segment, J.C. Sherbert made a comment that got me thinking, and I don't know why this came to my mind, although it's one of my favorite movies of all time. J.C. said, well, you start playing a season, and normally you run into a team that is supposed to be pretty good, that you play them, and it turns out they hadn't had the season that you expect. And I think back to the line that Matt Damon says in the movie Rounders. J.C., are you a Rounders fan? Have you ever watched the movie Rounders with Matt Damon and Ed Norton? And
I have, but couldn't quote it, though.
Okay. Very simple line, because it kind of reminds me of South Carolina. If you can't spot the sucker in your first half hour at the table, you are the sucker. And it felt like that's what might have happened. Oh, Missouri's not the sucker. LSU, no, wait, might be us. So, yeah, you've seen it? You've seen Rounders?
Yes, I just can't quote it. I mean, I've seen it. It's like me and Mike and Morgan and I have like fiver or dimer. It would be below a fiver for me.
Oh, no.
But I know what you're talking about.
John Malkovich, classic in there. I've seen. Yeah, I remember him being very good. I like John Malkovich. They said they've actually got a good interview with Matt Damon, and where he talks about Malkovich showing up, and like basically he had to fit it in his schedule to shoot his scenes as Teddy KGB, and Matt Damon says like he comes walking on, and I guess Matt had never met him before going into this movie. And so Matt said, I'm in awe of getting to work with John Malkovich and everything, and how this is going to go down. And he said John walks in, talks like a normal human being, and then they're like, all right, go, shoot, whatever, however they action. And he says he pops that Teddy KGB Russian voice. And Matt Damon says, the first one, I didn't even know what to say. I didn't see it coming at all, out of his voice. Really a classic interview. It's from years, and probably 20 years ago, but I got to admit, this is a college movie for me. So, yeah, unfortunately, I can quote it. And
I hear you, man. John Malkovich is a fantastic actor.
No, that's got a surprisingly good Damon, Norton, Malkovich, Martin Landau in it there as well. Really good.
Legend.
I'll take you down another path real quick here as we kind of do a non-sports segment a little bit, because I know you love doing some of these. Captain Dave, you there?
Yeah.
Let's get all right. Captain Dave, earlier we discussed Captain Dave's cooking habits, JC. Now, there was a period of time in your life, JC, you were a single guy, much like I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Dave is a single guy. Captain Dave and I are just a couple bachelors here hanging out at the 107.5 The Game studios. JC, you have married a wonderful woman now. I believe she is a phenomenal cook. She takes care of you. She has cleaned you up nicely. But again, in your single days, you had to fix food at some point. Captain Dave, please tell JC Sherbert, what is your only, JC, keyword only, not primary, as if he uses other kitchen appliances, only item to cook food, please, Captain Dave?
Microwave. And if it doesn't go in the microwave, doesn't get cooked in the microwave, it doesn't get cooked, period.
Your rebuttal or response to that form of bachelor-esque living, J.C. Sherbert?
Yeah, it wasn't a microwave for me. Like, I had a one frying pan, that I would cook eggs in sometimes. But then when I lived in Atlanta, I had a place that it had a dishwasher, but not a garbage disposal. So I just scrapped that, man. If I had something that I had to cook, I would just order takeout. So I basically lived off of like cold cuts, chicken salad, things like that. Make a salad, put it in the fridge. Anything that did not require me to dirty dishes up, I used. I've actually used the microwave more since I've been married than I did before. I'm not a big microwave guy, just don't heat that up. So Captain Dave and I will be on opposite ends of the bachelor living. Like he would have a show that talks about microwave recipes, and I would have a show that said what to do when you don't want to heat anything up and you just live off cold food for a year.
Also, paper plates and plastic forks and spoons, because that's the only thing I don't clean anything either.
That is a must. Dude, I bought so many. Heck, I use them now because we got two boys, and the dishes pile up pretty quick. So we buy plastic and paper plates and spoons and cups now, and forks now.
All right. So what I'm gathering here is either I'm the anomaly, or I'm a really now I don't know, you two, however you live, apartments, studio places, whatever. I do have access. I have a grill, I have a Blackstone, and I have a smoker. And I will admit, and JC, you've been to my house, you've seen the back porch and the view and everything, and that's a very humble brag, I guess. I shouldn't be saying it like that, but I do love being on the back porch. I love to grill. JC, are you familiar now with the air fryer? Has this become part of the Sherbert household in terms of appliances used?
We have one. The wife doesn't use it a whole lot now.
Oh,
it's weird.
All right.
The air fryer. We'll make something. We don't fry a whole lot. It's all. Yeah, she's Thai, so it's like a lot in the big. It's not a wok, but it's like a big pan grip. It's basically it looks like a wok. Yeah, so she'll cook things there, and I now the married guys, I grill like a champion.
There you go.
Steaks and burgers and chicken and things like that, sausage. I'll go out there, especially when the weather's warm. Man, I love doing that. So we just bought a new one, so that's kind of my thing. But yeah, the air fryer. We've she made some wings in it one time. They're pretty good, but that's about it.
Yeah, you can heat up pizza. I've gone to heating up instead of the microwave. I've gone to heating up pizza, cold pizza I'm not a cold pizza guy, by the way, strictly vehemently against that, and actually find that slightly disgusting if you do that, but to each his own. But I'll put pizza in the air fryer now, and that's my way of heating that up. You can put eggs in there, guys. I mean, I got to and now JC, you're married, Captain Dave and I, we might have to have a sit down and discuss easy. I think we got a birthday coming up for Captain Dave. It's going to be a present with an air fryer. JC, enjoyed that little segment. I always appreciate you joining us to talk some Gamecock sports. It's not a great time right now, but we're going to find a way to pull them through.
Yeah, it'll get better, brother. Hey, y'all have a good day. It's always a pleasure being on. Thank you so much.
Always fun. Always fun. Make sure you join us each and every Tuesday when JC joins us to talk a little Gamecock athletics. That's been a fun Tuesday. We're going to do it again on Wednesday. We'll talk to you then. Thank you, Captain Dave. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for over 30 years they have been the